we have it. Perfect.
Right. Well, thank you for having me here this morning, and also as a first point, I cannot enough insist on the efforts of the Commission to support our technologies, or generally the less deployed technology. My point this morning is the following: the Commission is really doing great job in trying to open up doors for our technology. However, the decision level is at with the member states, and I would even say in each of the member states the situation looks a little bit differently regarding CSP. My point this morning is to provide you a very short glimpse on three aspects that should matter to those member states when they look again at CSP. The first one is, of course, the role, and these three aspects are, if you want so, the main pillars of what can happen with CSP in Europe in the next years. The first point is of course the role of CSP for electricity systems. This is the standard stuff we have been talking since in the last 10 years, and the main asset of technology and the main perspective is on which its future can be based are of course large heat storage systems. Not only the storage system, but the CSP plants are technically proven, continuously improved with still a lot of our R&I research, and even we believe that there are still unused operational patterns to make a better use of this asset. This technology is industrially mature. This is not something we need to go and to have demonstrates in labs or so. The CSP can emerge again in Europe based on solid technology that is proven since the 80s. The storage itself is most used worldwide technology for storage. We will probably talk today about batteries and things like that. But for storage of 6, somebody says 8 hours per day and beyond, this is or even most cost effective compared to batteries or even any other solution. So here, what is our main message, and what the member states looking at CSP should know that CSP plus PV and wind produce a low power generation costs with best storage capacity, and today we are looking at cost level for 46 euro cents. The main point and the main concern we have that a lot of members, especially Mediterranean member states, recognize the assets and the role of CSP that CSP could play for electricity system, but they bring in the discussion the idea of, do we need that right now? So it's essentially to catch up with this role in Europe is depending on the timing that member states see in finding a solution for their needs, for their storage need in electricity systems. So the second way member states should look at CSP is what I call from an industrial perspective. And here you have in Europe a handful of companies, so-called promoters or developers, companies that have references on world markets for building CSP plant or CSP solutions, and this industrial perspective is now very much involved in the discussion about this new green, and we cannot insist enough also on green hydrogen markets. And I'm sorry, and hybrid plants, what I call hybrid plants, especially PV plus CSP, can definitely provide cost-effective energy for green hydrogen production around the clock. So this is something also that has raised a new interest in Germany. Central Europe is suddenly listening much more to what CSP could provide in the context of a new hydrogen market, especially regarding the impact on how this market could develop the size of electrolyzers and a more efficient use of existing pipeline capacities. Another essential point when you look beyond the role of CSP for the electricity system generally is also a number of countries, again, Central Europe, is very much looking now at the potential contribution of CSP, which I prefer to call today CST for technologies, you know, solar field and the storage and then the power part. So what is the role, or what could be the role of CSP for industrial processes and process heat, as well as a strong point also in Germany regarding local and district heating. So one of the main reasons for that is that CSP or CST is able to supply directly industrial process heat at, of course, high temperature. We're not talking primarily about low temperature, but also if a country would see a potential niche or market, the CSP technology can adjust the level of heat quite in a wide range. If you need, if an industry or the industry process would need very much higher temperature heat, also here the technology can follow these needs and, as I said, provide heat at the temperature level you need it. Less known is that some countries also look at CSP technology, depending on the resource, of course, for even local and district heating. This is completely, of course, new to us. The industry is, these are different types of companies that look at that or could be involved in this business. But the seasonal, if the technology is able to provide seasonal storage, you have an impressive improvement of the so-called solar, what I call solar coverage of your heating needs. And a last point in the context of heat uses is that CSP heat storage can be effectively, of course, combined with biomass is one of the possibilities, or any other thermal source that the country is available. So this was the second point, the kind of industrial perspective. And a third one that we try to sensibilize our interlocutors among the member states in line with what Piero said about especially climate change and European, let's say, European leadership also in climate change, but not only, is what I call the macroeconomic and social dimension. So one thing member states should realize, and the Union has realized that, maybe ahead of a lot of member states, CSP is a really European technology still, even if, of course, non-EU competitors are in this market today, but the technology is European with a significant know-how or component, and which still motivates this know-how, this high know-how component still motivates member states and the Union to continue to fund R&I research in this field, which may appear for a maybe non-expert observer. How can research be further funded if you don't have if you don't open at the same time doors for getting a kind of home market? This technology leadership and this the true value of all the technology, of the value chain, what we call, is still today a matter of fact. But we see, as ESTELA now and as with mostly industrial members, we see a real challenge, let's put it like that, if the situation would continue that nothing occurs in Europe, no new projects are made possible. I can comment maybe a little bit about this, how to make possible. So then this technology leadership could be seriously facing, let's say, challenges. The local content is the last point, but a lot of countries also we are talking to is aware. The contribution to national GDP is substantial, provided you have projects on running, and our interlocutors from Turkey to Portugal are pointing also at this contribution to national GDP is to national GDP. So this is essentially an interest in linking the deployment of this technology with the use of the local, I don't like the word national, but local resources, be it natural resources, but also industrial or know-how research. So this is a very important. You will see projects in Europe, in sometimes maybe in surprising countries, when the political entities have recognized that this is something that adds value to their own economy. And a last point, maybe one of the most important for political personnel, is the added value what CSP brings, and these numbers refer more, of course, to CSP plans, but in terms of local employment, we know by experience that even if manufacturing and even construction techniques have changed over the last years, that the local employment impact per installed megawatt is roughly 3 times higher for a country compared to other projects. So last slide, trying to wrap up after this 10 minutes, some conclusions. The most maybe obvious but still hard to hear in terms of mainstream thinking is that CSP and PV or wind, by the way, are complementary technologies. They are not competing technology. If CSP plus PV plus wind are competing, I don't even like this, against technology, then this is rather the conventional and especially gas, but this also with a number of footnotes. Most important, regarding the first part of what I said, the role or the potential of CSP in electricity system, the future solar plants should be, must be hybrid concepts, as of PV and CSP especially, with large storage capacity of facilities, large storage capacity. No need to have 2-hour storage in a CSP, in a kind of a potential new CSP plant. This doesn't make sense. This will not sell at all. Besides the fact that TSOs are telling us that the need for such kind of balancing energy or night shift energy, call it as you like, is relatively low today. What we discovered on the occasion of a specific investigation, also in a given country, no secret, we looked very carefully at what would be the impact of introducing CSP even more than the Portuguese CSP the Portuguese National Energy and Climate Plan foresees. What would be the impact of introducing substantial amount of CSP? And we discovered, if I may say so, not really discovering, that a higher penetration of CSP would already now, in the current situation, in some Mediterranean countries lead to a dramatic reduction of curtailments of variable rest. So if you have something like to say one number, if you invest for CSP new generation something that 10% more than you already planned for PV and wind, you have an impact. You have be up to 50% less curtailments in your system, and we start to point at the fact that this is, of course, the first impact. Having lower curtailments in your system solves, if not today's, but very soon appearing system operation challenges. So the famous duck curve and the ramping up when the sunset at sunset time. But it also mitigates what we call very politely market dysfunctionalities, that the curtailments are also a way or are pointing at the fact that the business case for further, for example, PV or for further variable could be negatively impacted if the amount of curtailments would grow up into the 20% of your installed generation. This is going to be also a problem for the renewable market globally. And the last one is, of course, especially talking today about that this more CSP would reduce the need of natural gas for balancing your system. Today in many countries this is done with gas turbines. Second conclusion, so this was for the power system. Second one, regarding heat and solar fuels application, this appears to be in more countries than we thought a kind of is seen as an opportunity for the industry to move and to show and to present projects or solutions that would bring CSP technology back in the game. The most important point is, of course, for the end. I kept it for the end. Is all what I said, be it for electricity system, for the heat, or for even, of course, getting projects done, depends. Today we have a massive challenge, is to get in Europe, in member states, well-designed auctions. I cannot now go into the details, but if the auctions designed for procuring new renewables are not designed in an adequate way, CSP will be de facto excluded. Will never be never be in the winning, among the winning bids. This implies, when I say this can be technology focused, this can be an auction recognizing the value for the entire system, recognizing local content, etc., etc., etc. And this is, as we're talking today, the main challenge for CSP in Europe, getting member states to present auctions. Spain, I didn't talk on purpose yet about Spain, but we're expecting, and we're very much expecting, what's going up or coming up now in the next weeks in Spain with the auction on CSP. But the devil is in the details, and there is the main threat for our technology. This is how I would conclude my presentation. Of course, ready to take any questions about what I say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcel, again, for your time and for your power when you speak about this technology. It's always good to hear you. I actually do have a question. When you were speaking about the hybrid possibility of different technologies, it's something that from a technical point of view, it's proved to be successful, but still, are you aware of any projects that are being implemented in this way? Or
well, nearly, I think nearly all the last big projects from Morocco, especially, but are are to some extent, be it on-site or de facto hybrid between PV and CSP. But here again, this is very obvious to any that PV and CSP together are best able to match, to provide this famous energy on demand that CSP has been claiming for so long years. It works with CSP, but it works even better at lower cost if you hybridize this with PV. So now back to your question. When I was saying auctions is the key of many of this point, and whether we will see or will not see in Europe such projects, hybrid projects. Well, ask your Spanish authorities, for example, if this is from a regulatory point of view, if this is something that is going to change. Currently, to my knowledge, there are still discussions ongoing between the Spanish industry and the Spanish authorities, to which extent some regulatory obstacles about hybridizing PV and CSP, how they can be, or whether they can be, let's say, overcome. But
well, speaking about, now you went into Spain, according to the Spanish National Energy and Climate Plan, there are quite ambitious objectives set for new installed power, CSP installed power, not only in new plants, but they are also expecting those existing plants that don't have thermal storage to include the storage. Mm-hmm. Do you think this is something that will happen, or?
I wish from the bottom of my heart that this will happen, but I am maybe the last person with having the possibility to announce this. No, I know, of course, about these intermediate measures that have been proposed by the Spanish industry to adapt, or to, as the name says, to install storage facilities in those existing plants in Spain that don't have or not enough. And this would be, of course, a decisive way to improve, let's say, the performance and even the cost of those small plants that today would never be built. 50 megawatts is not the size for CSP power plant. So I have no clue whether and unfortunately, I heard there was no many, but maybe some people in the audience know better than I from Spain. But the reaction of the authorities to this proposal by the Spanish industry have been moderate, if not, not to say low. And this is just one way of the intermediate measures. But I was talking in my slides very briefly, but also new operational patterns. As you can, just one sentence, you can, if you have a power plant, you could make better use of storage capacities in the winter time, where you never, because of the winter, you'd never use the entire capacity of those storage capacity. So this would be also something that could be made attractive to operators of existing power plants, or either invest in increasing the storage capacity or even using the storage capacities in a more effective way. But again, here the industry needs a motivation and needs a kind of adjusted then remuneration scheme, and then you are entering with this kind of discussion in an incredibly amount of regulatory, let's say, discussions, and that decisions are not taken. And this is then the second point, that the time is of the essence. If we talking about industry, when the industry needs business, if the business not coming, if the projects, if no pipeline is in view, then the two things may happen. The knowledge goes out. The companies are weakened. Well, we saw this kind of development, and this technology will be controlled by precisely non-European actors. at the time where maybe Europe will want to come back to this in terms of needs. Yeah, so this regulatory aspects, be it for the new generation or also for intermediate measures, are moving very slowly. And I fear now that I am very curious about the impact of the gas and electricity price crisis we are going into now, whether this will bounce back in a favorable way for our technologies, or even then further delay the use of this technology and the planning of the use of this technology in the very few years.